Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter Rise, and today I'm going to be bringing you my Dual Blades guide. Now this is the weapon that you want to play if you want to feel like Captain Levi in Attack on Titan, just slashing through everything while dual wielding weapons. As per usual, we're going to be starting with the very default, so the default switch skills are Demon Flurry Rush, Demon Mode, and Piercing Bind. As we move throughout the video, I'll be talking about other switch skills as well, and all of the Silk Bind attacks and all of that jazz. But as we always do, we're going to be starting with our draw attacks. So you have your default draw. If you stand still and press X, it just draws your weapon like every other weapon. On the other hand, if you're running around and you press X, it's going to draw into a Lunging Strike. Now, Lunging Strike is actually the first move in your A combo. So if you press A while you're moving, you'll notice that you do a Lunging Strike. Even pressing A while standing still is also going to do the Lunging Strike. So this is important because the start of your A combo is going to change, which is also going to change your draw attack depending on the state that you have the weapon in, which it can exist in 3 different states, and that is normal, demon mode, and archdemon mode. We'll talk about all those as we move forward. Anyways, the other option that you have for a draw is the ZR button that is going to bring you out in demon mode straight from the get-go. So you can, go for a Lunging Strike, or you can go for demon mode. And then a lot of times I think you're actually going to be starting your offensive in demon mode, so just keep that in mind. Those are the options that you have when you are drawing your weapons. But once you draw your weapons, let's talk about your X combo. So the X combo, fairly basic. It's got 3 attacks: double slash, double return stroke, and circle. Double slash, return stroke, and circle slash. Fairly basic, 3 moves. And then you have your A combo, which is the Lunging Strike and left round slash. And it pretty much just repeats itself. Lunging Strike, left round slash, Lunging Strike, left round slash. This, however, is in normal mode. In a normal mode, X plus A doesn't actually do anything. I say that because there will be inputs with X plus A, but when you are in normal mode, they don't really help you out at all. Now, also, while you are in normal mode, if you press ZR, you go into demon mode. And this is kind of like one of the key aspects of the dual blades. It is juggling between demon mode and regular mode. So right now, we're going to be talking about the demon mode. So one of the first things that you'll notice is that once you trigger demon mode, your stamina gauge starts diminishing and your character moves significantly faster. Like, look, this is the speed of demon mode. This is without demon mode. Really slow and sluggish. Boom, demon mode. Gotta go fast. Naruto run. Let's go. Da-dan! So that's one of the things that demon mode does for you. Hella speed, okay? The other thing is obviously you can see that your stamina gauge is decreasing, so you need to manage it. Ideally, if you wanted to deal the maximum amount of damage, you would want to maximize the amount of time that you can stay in demon mode, and there are armor skills that you can use for that. I believe that for the dual blades it is Marathon Runner. So, so long as you have Marathon Runner, you should be able to stay in this mode for longer. Stuff that also helps is like things like dash juices, and buffs from Palicos like Go Fight Win. That'll help you manage your stamina and will help you stay in demon mode longer in case you want to do that. Now guys are asking, okay, so besides going fast, what's the other advantage of the demon mode? Well, it changes your combos. So your X combo now becomes Demon Fangs, 2-fold Demon Slash, and 6-fold Demon Slash, which, as you can imagine, it's a little bit more offensive. Think of it almost like Insect Glaive, with and without the red buff, right? Because it's kind of a bit of a similar mechanic. And then your A combo becomes Demon Flurry Rush, and it actually has 3 attacks now: left round slash and left double round slash. And so what is the deal with these combos? Like, how should you be going around playing with them? Like, what should you be working towards, right? And the idea here is, in order to deal damage, if you have small openings, you want to do X. In order to position yourself, you want to do A. So a lot of times I personally end up doing A because A moves you. And it kind of positions you. It also deals decent damage. So this is very good for positioning yourself, and, particularly if the monster is not right in front of you, you can just go like, okay, I'm going to position myself to attack. Then you can keep on going with A, or you can go with X, or you can interweave back to A if you so desire. And you can, you can go back and forth between X and A attacks, right? However, the star of the demon mode is the demon dance. Demon dance? No, blade dance. Sorry, because so many of these names have like demon and blade in it that sometimes I get a little bit confused. So when you are in demon mode and you press X plus A, you're going to do blade dance. This is like some of the most damage that you will be able to do. So this is like your big, whenever you have a big opening on the monsters, this is what you want to be doing. The Blade Dance. The problem with the Blade Dance is that this is just one movement. Like all of that is one movement. Like I'm not spamming inputs. Look, I'll press the button and now I'm not touching anything. And he does all that. So you can immediately see what the disadvantage is to this attack, and that is the amount of animation commitment that it puts you in. So you really don't want to be spamming this. Even though this is like your big damage dealing combo, you do not want to be spamming it because, you know, the monster is going to interrupt you, the monster is going to move out of the way, yada, yada, yada. So only when you have big openings, that's when you go for the Blade Dance. Before you have those big openings, you want to use A to like position yourself, right? And then you use X to take advantage of a couple of openings that you get, or you use A again to position yourself because you can keep on moving, right? You can go, okay, I'm going to go A over here. Now the monster moves to my left. I'm going to dodge. I'm going to go back over there, you know, and you can keep going back and forth depending on where the monster is positioned. The way that I always think about dual blade attacks is X for small openings, and then A to position myself, and X plus A when I have a big opening. Now, do remember that this does consume your stamina, so every now and then you might want to press ZR to exit demon mode, because, you know, otherwise you might run out of stamina, and then you don't have stamina in order to actually dodge from the monster. Now, an important thing, when you are in demon mode, you'll notice that we have a sword gauge that right now is in the red. That sword gauge basically enables us to go into Archdemon mode, which is the mode that we're in right now. The way it works is that whenever you're in demon mode, that sword gauge will rise whenever you do an attack. And then if you max it out, because at the start that gauge was white, you guys go back in the video and watch, that gauge was going to be white. If you get it all the way to the top, then you enter Archdemon mode. But Archdemon mode doesn't really affect you when you're still in demon mode. It's kind of weird. But basically, Archdemon mode is after you fill up that gauge, if you press ZR and exit demon mode, you're now in Archdemon mode. You can see this by the blade being red. If the blade is white, you're not in Archdemon mode. If the blade is red, you are in Archdemon mode. You guys are like, well, what the hell is Archdemon mode? Well, Archdemon mode actually unlocks a couple of more moves. So your X combo stays the same as it was in normal mode. However, the A combo is now the Demon Mode A combo. So it's a Demon Flurry Rush with left round slash, which is really good because it gives you that positioning move that I personally really like. But on top of it, there's another advantage to it, and that is you now also have access to Demon Flurry by pressing X and A. Now, what Demon Flurry is almost like a kind of segmented blade dance because there's actually 3 moves to it. So that was move number 1. If you keep spamming X and A, you're going to go Demon Flurry number 2. And if we hadn't run out of gauge, we would go into Demon Flurry 3. So as you can see, now that we've ran through the entirety of the red gauge on the top left-hand side, we've exited Archdemon mode and we're back to normal mode. So our combo is going to go back to Lunging Strike and left round slash for the A combo, and it's the same thing with X, and we no longer have access to Demon Flurry. I'm pressing X plus A, and as you can see, nothing is happening. I'm just doing X combos, right? So, like I said, you go into demon mode by pressing ZR, you attack the monster. Notice how that gauge starts filling up. Right now it is white. The more you attack, the more the gauge fills up. Usually, if you are doing reasonably well in a fight, you're either going to be in demon mode or in Archdemon mode the whole time. If you are not, then that probably means you might be doing something wrong, because usually that's the way this thing goes. You're either in demon mode or in Archdemon mode. But anyways, going back to Archdemon mode, if we now press X plus A, and X plus A again, and X plus A again, gives you access to the entirety of the Demon Flurry combo. So that's kind of like another decent combo, and the reason you would want to use that instead of Blade Dance is maybe the monster isn't giving you that many openings, so you can actually go into Archdemon mode and you can punish him with a couple of Demon Flurries every now and then. But to be honest, the only reason you would usually go for Demon Flurry as opposed to Blade Dance is because you're low on stamina. If you're low on stamina, then sure, go to Archdemon mode, do whatever. But otherwise, keep in demon mode and keep just like going ham. So long as you have stamina left, you want to be in demon mode. You just want to make sure that you don't run out so that you can always keep on dodging. So now let's talk about your Silkbind skills, and the first one is going to be Shrouded Vault. The way it works, you press ZL plus A, you throw out a wire bug, your character moves in that direction. The guy's like, oh, that's not that impressive, Rurikhan. That doesn't seem that interesting. It's like, I get you. But the thing is, this is also a counter, which is why we have our Mecha Tetranodon here doing this attack. So press CL plus A right into the attack, and that is going to get you to go through the attack, and also deals a little bit of damage. It's not a whole lot of damage, but it's mostly meant as a defensive move. So monster catches you out of position, you just like, boom. You can also do it from demon mode. Obviously, you will deal more damage if you do it in demon mode, but you know, this is one of your Silkbind attacks, and this is the Silkbind attack that actually doesn't change. So this is one of those that's always going to be with you, and it's actually a pretty good attack in my opinion. I believe this was the adept dodge of the dual blades in Generations Ultimate, but I didn't play that much dual blades in Gen U. I did play a little bit, but it was mostly aerial, because aerial is pretty fun, but that will be coming into play a little bit later down the line. Anyway, let's turn off the Mecha Tetranodon here, because that is our one counter move. We don't have to worry about counter moves anymore. On the next one, we have the Piercing Bind. Now, Piercing Bind is ZL plus X, and it eats up one wire bug, but it has very slow recovery. As you can see, it just moves. You do a little stabbing motion with your carving knife, and that's it. However, if you do it on the monster, you get this. You get that little kunai attached to you, and then after a while, it explodes and deals damage. But the thing about that little kunai there is that it will actually increase the amount of damage that you can deal, very similar to another Generations Ultimate mechanic. It's interesting. I said I didn't play that many dual blades. I guess I might have played more than I remember, because that particular mechanic is something that we used to call, it was called the Wolf's Maw. And the way that it works is basically when you attack against this thing, it is going to deal additional damage. Like, you see how it's dealing like the 8 number there? That was additional damage that was being dealt whenever we attacked. And on top of it, it also increases the damage of the final explosion. So obviously, if you get something like this going, then you slash towards the monster and you go for a blade dance. That is going to increase the damage of the Piercing Bind significantly. So this is one of those moves that you want to be using in big openings. Or actually, this one you can even use in small openings, because, you know, it's still good. And you can still just like move into the monster and get a little bit of damage in, even just using your A combo. So it's a pretty solid damaging move for the dual blades here. And, you know, personally, I really like it. I tend to prefer it over the alternative, which we're going to be talking about now. So the alternative to Piercing Bind is a switch skill called Tower Vault. So you go here, you swap Piercing Bind, Tower Vault. And Tower Vault essentially sends your character into the air. It doesn't deal any damage, but it does open you up to possibilities for performing other combos. Now, the advantage of this is that it can be done with your weapon drawn. So now if you press ZL plus X, your character gets sent to the air. Now, you can use this to dodge certain attacks from monsters, or you can use it just to get the aerial advantage and then go into the move that everybody knows. People call it the Beyblade. I don't actually even know what it's called in the game. This move, the mid-air spinning blade dance. And if you hit the monster while you're doing that, you'll actually start like spinning around the back of the monster. It's kind of hard to do on the Mecha Tetranodon. It's kind of hard to exemplify here. Let's go into demon mode and do it that way. Whee! But basically, if the monster was longer, you would be spinning all the way through the length of the monster and dealing additional damage. That's like one of the main advantages of doing this. It sends you into the air when you have your weapons drawn, and then you go into that move that can get you to do the spinning thing. It's preferably to do it in demon mode, because you're going to deal additional damage and, you know, get all the benefits of demon mode. You charge up your gauge. But that's kind of like what Tower Vault is supposed to do. You guys like, okay, Rurikhan, so why don't you like it? Don't you like spinning on monsters like friggin' Levi? No, it's just that there's, in my opinion, another way of doing this that doesn't require you to have that. The advantage of having Tower Vault is that you can do it with your weapons unsheathed. But it's not like sheathing your weapons is a tremendous investment when you're fighting with dual blades, at least not in my opinion, but feel free to disagree. But, you know, it's still very useful when you're fighting monsters that tend to go to the air often, like, say, you're fighting a Rathalos or something like that, and you're just like, no, screw you. I'm just going to take the fight up to you, right? Like, that's obviously useful, and it obviously feels good. There's a reason why I play with aerial shelling so much, because it just feels great to fight against aerial monsters. So that's kind of like where I feel the Tower Vault's niche is. But like I said, there's an easier way to get there without you, well, not an easier way, but there's a way to get there without sacrificing Piercing Bind. That is, if you just press ZL plus X with your weapon sheath, it's going to send you into the air. You can, from there, you can go straight into demon mode, and you can instantly press A and do the exact same thing. So something like this. So you can basically go into demon mode while you're in the middle of the air and then press A, and that is going to give you kind of like the same advantage that the Tower Vault does, with the exception that you need to be sheathing your weapons before you do so, otherwise nothing gets done. But I guess that was Capcom's idea with this move, is just like, hey, here's a very easy way for you to do the Beyblade move in the back of the monsters, and boom, Bob's your uncle, right? So now, let's talk about another one of the switch skills, and that is the Demon Flight. Now, Demon Flight is essentially the aerial mode for Generations Ultimate. This is 100% the aerial mode. And basically the way that it works is if you are in Archdemon mode or in Demon mode, it replaces the beginning of your A combo with Demon Flight. So remember how I told you guys that the first attack from a drawn, if you draw your weapon with X, the first attack is going to be the first A attack? So that's why this is important, because now you're drawing into Demon Flight. You guys are like, okay, why do I care if I'm drawing into something, or, you know, or Demon Flight? Because Demon Flight's going to send you to the air, because it's an aerial move. Now, Demon Flight is a lot of fun. In my opinion, you'll get more use of Demon Flight the bigger a monster is, because for fighting something small, like I remember the first time I equipped Demon Flight, I think I fought Gossarag. I was like, okay, for Gossarag, this is a little bit awkward, because a lot of times I wouldn't want to be sent to the air, and I'd be drawing into the air, and I'd be constantly throwing myself into the air, because this replaces the mobility skill that the mobility attack that I told you guys about, right? It replaces your A combo. So, you know, you're going to be sent flying every time you hit a monster with this, which is cool, but not always good, because, you know, you're vulnerable while you're doing this. So the monster can counter you. So this is one of those things that, while it is a lot of fun, you kind of have to change your playstyle when you are using Demon Flight. You can't just be constantly repositioning like I personally tend to do using A. You have to actually reposition yourself strictly with dodges if you are using Demon Flight, which was kind of weird for me to do. But Demon Flight can also get you to do the Beyblade attack, as you saw right there. So that's another thing. So like, if you really like the Beyblade attack, I think that Demon Flight is a better alternative. I mean, depending on which monster you're fighting, of course, but it could be a better alternative to Tower Vault. And I know that a lot of you guys will have positive input in regards to Tower Vault, because it always happens throughout these guides. Whenever I say something about a skill that I personally find to be less appealing, a lot of people are like, no, I really like this thing. And that's cool, because that actually means that Capcom is balanced in the way that a lot of players still see value in those things, where other players see value in different switch skills. So those things are always good in my book. Having said that, I am curious about what your opinion is in Tower Vault. How do you guys feel about it, those of you who've played more dual blades than me? Because as you guys know, these last two weapons that I'm doing, dual blades and longsword, these are not weapons that I tend to play all that much. But yeah, Demon Flight, pretty badass, particularly if you liked the aerial play style of Generations Ultimate. You can also follow up Demon Flight with an A attack to do the Beyblade, or you can follow it up with the next attack to not do the Beyblade and just do another aerial combo and deal additional damage. So those are your options. And like I said, if you're in Archdemon mode, do remember this does replace your draw attack, so you're going to constantly go up into the air when you do that. But yeah, it kind of does give a different vibe to the weapon, and personally, I really like the fact that they include Demon Flight, because I used to love playing aerial dual blades in GU. It's so much fun. Just like the thing where you jump onto the monster and it does a ton of slashing damage. This is pretty cool. And by the way, the numbers that you are seeing here, this set is not really what you should be doing for dual blades. The reason I'm using it is because I just really like the design of these axes. These are the basal axes. I just dig them a lot, so I just had to make a set around them. But ideally, with dual blades, this is the weapon that you definitely want to be using elemental damage with. But anyway, that is Demon Flight. And finally, there is one more skill that I have to show you, and that is Feral Demon Mode. But before we go to Feral Demon Mode, I'd like to showcase something special about regular Demon Mode. Because a lot of you guys will be asking the question, okay, so Rurikhan, what's the difference between regular Demon Mode, Feral Demon Mode? And one of the main differences is this, the speed. Look at how fast, actually what a good comparison will be, look at how fast we get from the chest back to the Mechatetronodon, right? Look at how fast we got here. Now, let's swap us over to Feral Demon Mode, and we'll talk about Feral Demon Mode, but you guys will already be aware of one of the major advantages of Demon Mode, and that is speed. So we're going to swap Demon Mode into Feral Demon Mode. I'm also going to bring back Piercing Bind and regular Demon Flurry Slash, because I personally tend to prefer those. But Feral Demon Mode, for starters, there's a little bit of more animation commitment when you go into it, because Demon Mode is just like you raise up your axes and boom, I'm in Demon Mode. Feral Demon Mode, you get this. You get a couple of slashes, deals a little bit of damage. The pose looks badass, though. I really like this pose. Like, our character's like almost seething with rage. Really, really satisfying. But notice the speed. Much, much slower than regular Demon Mode. So that's the first drawback. So what's the advantage that you get for this loss in speed? You actually deal more damage. It's not like a tremendous amount of damage, but you deal more damage. Feral Demon Mode deals additional damage. But on top of that, and the way I tested this, I actually tested it out with a weapon with 0 affinity and just started attacking the dummy. And yes, you do deal more damage in Feral Demon Mode. I don't know what the percentage is, but it is a little bit. Now, besides that, when you go into Feral Demon Mode, like I said, you do attacks. So if you're close to the monster, and it actually moves you a little bit forward. So whenever, say you started over here, notice how our character moves forward. So there's also a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a gap closer, but a little bit more forward momentum, which Gaijin has actually described as being perfect for when you do the Piercing Bind, because if you do the Piercing Bind, it moves you slightly back, and then you press ZR, moves you back forward. So this is something that, you know, I learned from a Gaijin Hunter video. You guys should watch Gaijin Hunter. He's really, really good. He does a lot of really good stuff. And he's also my host in the Third Fleet podcast. So yeah. But yeah, it moves you a little bit forward. Your combos are pretty much the same. So you still get the regular combos of Demon Mode, and you still get Blade Dance, all of that stuff. The combos don't really change. It's just the mode itself is different because you deal more damage, you have less speed, and when you dodge, you also attack. So now when you dodge, you're also attacking. It's very small attacks, but you know, they add up after a while. So you're dodging right in the monster's face, considering that you do get invincibility frames when you dodge. You know, you're dealing additional damage. So that's kind of like the advantage of Feral Demon Mode. You deal more damage, your dodges deal damage, but on the flip side, you're also slower. But yeah, that's Demon Mode and Feral Demon Mode. And I think it will depend on which monster you are fighting, like which one is more advantageous. I think that for most situations, you're probably looking at Feral Demon Mode. But, you know, I can see that in some monsters that are particularly fast and that you're maybe struggling to keep up with them. I can see Demon Mode coming into play a little bit. But again, I do think that Feral Mode is probably going to be the default. And it also depends on whether or not you're willing to deal with the animation commitment of going into Feral Demon Mode, because Demon Mode is just so much faster at getting in, and here you have to do these But, you know, advantages and disadvantages to both of them. I think they're both viable, and they kind of like give you different playstyles to the weapon, and in my opinion, that's a good thing. So now let's talk about combos, and to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot to say when it comes to combos for the dual blades, because basically what I tend to do is I just like Demon Mode, and then I use A to position myself in the monster, do a couple of X attacks, and then when the opening presents itself, dual blades. Not dual blades, Blade Dance, right? If you get another opening, you can put in a Piercing Bind, you know, whenever the opening's big enough. And if you have enough of an opening to even punish it further with dual blades, also go for that. You know, dodge out of the way whenever you need to. That's kind of just the way that I play the dual blades. Once you're in Archdemon mode, same thing. Reposition using A, And then if there's a big enough opening, you go to the Demon Flurry, which is X plus A. And, you know, X whenever X is kind of like my filler. It's like if I don't have a big enough opening for Demon Flurry, I might do X if I don't have to reposition myself. But if I do have a big enough opening for Demon Flurry or Blade Dance, I'll always go for those and just using A to reposition. The thing about the dual blades, in my opinion, is that they are a fairly basic weapon, which is, you know, why this is probably going to be the smallest guide that I have in the channel. Because a lot of the difficulty of this weapon is managing your stamina gauge. Because right now, we're hitting a training dummy, so it looks easy, right? You're looking at your stamina gauge, I got this, dude. Look at my stamina, it's full. But remember that while you're in the training room, you know, you have almost infinite stamina because they give you the maximum of your stamina gauge, whereas in a fight, you don't get the maximum of your stamina gauge. And on top of it, in a fight, you're going to have to dodge a lot more often. And as you can see, every time that you dodge, look at your stamina go. So the difficulty of this weapon is in balancing the offensive nature of the weapon and the stamina consumption of the weapon so that you don't end up with no stamina, because that way you won't be able to dodge incoming attacks. But yeah, that's kind of the way that I just play it. I just go at it, and you know, if there's an opportunity to do an aerial move, I might do an aerial move. Like you can also go from demon mode to here, and you jump off, and you can straight up go into an A attack and you do the Beyblade. Like if you're jumping off of a cliff and landing on top of a monster, you can do that. But yeah, mostly I just use A to position, X to do a couple of attacks, and then X plus A if the opening is big enough. I don't really think that, you know, you see those combos down there like, oh, demon mode combo, X plus X plus X plus A, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really think too much about it with the dual blades. I just like use A to reposition. Am I in a good position? Okay, then dual blades. Boom. Again, I keep saying dual blades. Blade dance, blade dance, blade dance. Am I running out of stamina? Go back into Archdemon mode. Slash away with A. Demon Flurry. And I know that probably some of you guys will have like recommended combos, and I would appreciate you posting them in the comment section because, like I said, I don't tend to play these particular weapons too much. This is mostly intended for newcomers, people that are trying to learn the basics of the weapon. This is the basics of the weapon. Now it's up to you guys to go out there and master them. And I know that the next video, a lot of people are going to be super excited about it because it's going to be the longsword video. Good God. Yeah. About that. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong. Stay safe. Peace out.